Ifatu Melifonwu. This is going to be over. Lions are going to win it. Lions are bringing the NFC North title back to Detroit.
All right, what's happening, everybody? It is Rock Down Detroit Lions podcast tonight, and we're doing a little mock draft Monday, Will's mock draft Monday. So kind of like last week, I've got the first round all set. I've got everything situated. I'm not going to show you the picks. We'll talk about it, and then when we get through the first round, then I'll show you, everything that's there, and then we'll do the next two rounds. I'll fly through it this time. I'm a little bit more prepared, but I want to do some of it live with you guys. So it looks like you guys have been active for a while. Hopefully the time change didn't throw you guys off tonight. Just had a lot to do, man. Beautiful day today. Glad to see everyone's alive and well after the eclipse. No aliens fell from the sky or all this other crazy stuff that they were telling us about, that was going to happen. Did not happen. I didn't see any Bigfoot crossings. Nothing interesting. Just, the sun and the moon did their thing, and it is what it is. So I'm glad to be here. It is Monday night mock draft party. Let's get into it. But let me welcome everybody into the chat tonight and see how everyone's doing. So we got Colby Stacy in the house, Donovan Amos, Better the Hunt, Steve K, Tracy, Jayster, mods tonight. We got John Desage in the house, Wayne Rogers. Who else is in here today? We got Nick P. We got Dan Perry, Ultra Minor 12. Hopefully you're not like an Ultra Minor 12 years old. I hope not. Warren King. It's okay. It just shows just not for people under 18, just because who knows what things are going to be said. We got the Deck Peck in the house. We got Salty Pork Chops. Like that name. That's a new name. Welcome in tonight. And if I haven't seen you before, I apologize. Brian Welsh, Caleb Klein. Oh, gotcha. Minecraft username. Yeah, Deckpack. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. All right, let's get rolling tonight. So let me get some things brought up onto the screen. There's some interesting things that I've done tonight with this first round. As we continue to get closer to draft night, things are going to continue to change. And as we get more comfortable, I guess, with some of the things that I think are going to potentially happen or could happen. Like last week, I had the Lions moving all the way up to 12. That may not happen this week. I think that there's some other opportunities, especially with the way that this draft kind of worked out tonight, based on my information, just things that I research. That's just kind of how it worked out. Matter of fact, I don't even really know if I have to have this up here right now, because you guys aren't going to see anything until I get the first round done. So let me get the first round done with you guys. Let's see here. So how's everybody doing tonight? Did you guys get a chance to watch? I was in a doctor appointment today. I was seeing an allergist. It's crazy at you get older and things change. I'm allergic to dogs. I have 2 dogs. And I've never been allergic before, and all of a sudden I'm allergic. So dogs ain't going anywhere. So that just means I have to take 5 different new medications. Like, for real? It's not what I wanted to do. So anyway, here we go. Bears, look, you guys know when I did my first mock, I thought that the Bears would be absolutely foolish to take Caleb Williams. I still think that they're foolish to take Caleb Williams. I think that there's better, wholesome quarterbacks in this draft. I think Caleb is just going to be a nightmare for whatever reason. He's too Hollywood, right? He's too drama queen. There's just some things that, are, I don't know. He's too much, I just think he's going to cause too many problems. Matter of fact, some of the Bears players like Jalen Johnson and others had come out and it kind of spoke against it already and say, look, you're not bringing this crap to the locker room. So you better get it figured out, because, we sniff you out and you're not going to come into a quality locker room and play these childish games or, think you're better than other people, or you got to earn it, So to your point, Donovan, I hope they do take him because, they'll just have issues and we'll continue to kick them in the teeth. So no further ado here. Caleb Williams goes number 1 overall to the Chicago Bears. I mean, he's not even taking any other visits. So I think that we pretty much understand that one. Washington. Now, Washington, I don't think is any surprise. I can't remember if last week I had them taking Drake May. I think I did. Pretty positive I did. And that's going to happen again this week. So Drake May obviously should be the quarterback for the Washington Commanders. There is an outside chance that it could be Jaden Daniels. I think, Jaden's been moving up some boards. And, I took a look at a couple of mock drafts this week. Matter of fact, I think it was CBS. Let me see if I still have it open. Well, of course, I looked at PFF. They still have Drake May, but here's the funny thing, and I think I mentioned this in some of my other notes. Like a lot of the weird picks that I did last week and some of the trades that I did last week, I am now seeing on mock drafts that were released today by PFF today. So, right, wrong, or indifferent. What I was speaking to last week, other people are starting to see it. Not saying they saw my video, but they're starting to see the potential for what could happen with some of these players. And they're pretty bold moves. So I'm glad I'm not the only one thinking outside the box here, but CBS has Jaden Daniels moving all the way up to number 2. I don't. I think that there could be some cause for concern with his elbow. I mean, I don't think it's that big of a deal because it's bursitis, like I said last week, but it could cause a little concern for some teams to maybe, hit the brakes and just go with the for sure thing, because as we've spoken about, maybe 1 out of 5 of these quarterbacks is going to have a decent season. Maybe. That's a big maybe. I thought last year's draft class was bad, and it was. This year's draft class, I thought was going to be much better because I didn't, know that Caleb Williams was a drama queen, and Caleb was somebody that I honestly thought the Lions would be, looking to pick up, but we had a crazy good season. And that was before the whole, Jared Goff stuff. That was like 2021 or whatever when I started talking about that. So it wasn't here though. It was on social media. So let's move on to number 3, the Patriots. So last week I had the Patriots taking JJ McCarthy. In the first mock, I had them taking Joe Alt. Not doing any moves, not doing anything. But this week, this is where, I see the Vikings make a move. And I didn't really think that they would make this move until today. And now I think that the Vikings move up to number 3. They don't take a chance, knowing that other teams now are looking to grab a quarterback. Teams that maybe were not in the hunt in the first round. Maybe they were going to wait till the second round. But now I think the Vikings move all the way up to number 3 with the Patriots because, look, the Patriots are in rebuild mode. They're going to want draft picks. They're going to want to take an opportunity to set up their team for the future. And if, the Patriots are smart like they always have been, this is what they'll do potentially, is trade back to number 11 with the Vikings. The Vikings are going to have to give up number 11 and 23 to make it happen. I've seen other mocks where they've even given up an additional 3rd round pick. I don't think it's going to take that. I think having 2 first-round picks this year is going to be plenty. So, like I said, I found it hilarious that PFF did the same exact trade in their mock today. I did it a week ago. So, Vikings take Jaden Daniels at number 3 overall. Patriots move back to number 11. Cardinals pick number 4. I have, of course, Marvin Harrison still being the guy here. To go to the Cardinals, they could really use a wide receiver. I don't think it's any surprise, but I mean, there's other options here. You got wide receiver, cornerback, guard, or center. I mean, there's options, and I don't know anyone that's really going to want to pass on, a dynamic wide receiver, especially with the Cardinals, really needing someone that can stretch the field. So. Evan Smoke, why wouldn't they? So, for what I said, is that I think that they're going to want to rebuild the rest of the team because in 2025, when you look at the draft class for 2025, and let's just be honest here, even if they took a quarterback this year, doesn't mean they're going to have a good season, right? So whether they take a quarterback or they don't this year, they're still going to have a pretty good pick next year. But taking the opportunity to back out of the third, and now you add 2 first-round picks, the 11th and the 23rd, they could still grab Bo Nix. They could still grab Michael Penix. They could still end up, taking another quarterback in this draft if they wanted to. But having 2 first-round picks ensures that they could potentially now add an offensive lineman and or a quarterback in this draft, or an offensive lineman and maybe somewhere else, another first-round talent to help out the defense. And then they can worry about it next year, and they'll be able to move up and grab the quarterback that they need next year. I mean, you have Jalen Daniels, Jalen Milroe, Graham Mertz, Shedeur Sanders, all, big time prospects coming out next year, potentially. So I think that's the reason, is take the opportunity to grab an extra first round pick, build your team, and you can always add a quarterback. I mean, it's a crapshoot. So for the people that understand that first round talent quarterbacks don't always work out, it's a crapshoot, and they can still grab one. So hopefully I didn't give too much away for things that I'm talking about here in a minute. But anyway, so trade back with number 11 Vikings. They pick up number 11 and 23. The Vikings take Jaden Daniels. And next pick, Cardinals take Marvin Harrison. Chargers. So last week I had the Chargers moving out of number 5, trading with the Vikings. This week, and last week I had them taking Brock Bowers at number 11, I believe. So at this point, I think the third time around here, I think that the Chargers are potentially going to look at staying put here. And instead of grabbing Brock Bowers, they now have a shot at Joe Alt. And Harbaugh loves working the trenches first. He wants to make sure that his running game can work. And what a better way to get that started than with, a generational talent in Joe Alt. What is he, 6'8"? Even been said to be 6'9". I think he's 6'8". He's a big dude. Anybody that's going to have to go against him, they're going to struggle. I don't care who they are. So a dominant offensive lineman like that doesn't come around very often. Next up, we got number 6. We got the Giants. And just for peacekeeping purposes here, let me throw out who else selected these players. So PFF had Marvin Harrison at number 4, and then they also had the same exact thing I did last week with the Chargers trading with the Vikings. This week, PFF has the Chargers trading with the Vikings for JJ McCarthy, and CBS has the Chargers taking Joe Alt. So we align there. I align with CBS for once. That's rare. So next up, we've got the Giants. So for the Giants, last week I had them taking Quinion Mitchell, which I still believe that cornerback has got to be, it's got to be top on their list. But now, given the fact that last week, so I had him taking Quinion Mitchell and then Joe Alt, the second mock. This week, since they missed out on Joe Alt with the Chargers staying put and grabbing him at number 5, I think they go the other direction, and they're looking to fill, a top category. So it's offensive lineman, cornerback, wide receiver. I think those are the top 3 choices for the Giants. Rome Odunze makes perfect sense. You give, your quarterback one more shot. You've got a top tier threat on the outside. And if he doesn't work out, he doesn't work out. It's also been speculated that the Giants could be in the quarterback hunt, which would be interesting if we ended up seeing the 4th, maybe the 5th quarterback could go to the Giants at number 6. Or the Giants could be players and say, hey, I can grab Penix or Nix or something maybe later on in the first round, end of the first, early second. Why don't I trade back? I'm kind of weird with the trades. Like, I think that everybody should trade back. Quite honestly, I think everyone would would be wise, especially when you need multiple positions. If you are not just one position short, which hardly any team ever will be, it always makes sense to try to move back if you can and add some draft capital. That's how, great teams, build their team and stay relevant. So my opinion, I don't know if it's my opinion alone, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. So let's see what did CBS had. They had Malik Neighbors. See, I don't see Malik Neighbors going over top of Odunze at all. I'm sorry, that was PFF. PFF had Malik Neighbors. CBS had Malik Neighbors. I don't see it. I see Odunze being the better wide receiver. So next up, we've got the Titans at number 7, and PFF had them taking Joe Alt. Obviously, I have Joe Alt already gone, and the CBS mock has them taking Fashanu, and I don't have either of those players selected. So last year, we know that the Titans took Skoronski, and I feel like, if they did have a shot at Joe Alt, obviously he would be a Titan, right away. I just don't know if Joe's going to be able to slip past the Chargers if Harbaugh and his team really have a shot at grabbing him. So my top picks, in the first mock were Troy Fontenot. The second time around was Rome Odunze. But since he's gone, I'm now back to Troy Fontenot. I think that Troy Fontenot is a much better option than Fashanu at this point in the draft. So Fontenot going to the Titans at number 7. I will try to get to the chat too. When I do this, I usually miss the most of it until I get to a certain spot. Salty Pork Chop says New York needs wide receiver, O-line, quarterback, cornerback. Yep, I agree with that. U of M Dad says they need a lot of help. That's for sure. Warren King says Belichick agrees with you. Move back when you can. That's interesting. Does he really believe in that? I wouldn't be surprised, but I haven't studied their drafts either to see how often they move back. Cleve Snob says, how would you feel about the Lions drafting Zinter in a late round? Hopefully you're not speaking of like late first, but late. Yeah, I think that, there's always that opportunity to bring in offensive linemen anytime you can. I think that there's going to be other options for the Lions. They need offensive line help. I see offensive line could be our first pick. Quite honestly, it could be. Depends on what they do. I think if the Lions stay put at 29, obviously depending on what happens in this draft, you could see an offensive lineman end up sliding to us if they really love them. And I wouldn't be mad at that. I really wouldn't, because without an offensive line, our offense does not work. You can barely even miss one guy and still feel comfortable that Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be able to do what he does, and Jared Goff is going to have the time to do what he needs to do. I think that's the most important position on this team is our offensive line right now. I think everything else is pretty good. But yeah, a healthy Zinter, he might need a year to develop, but a healthy Zinter wouldn't ever be a bad choice. Can't remember his arm length though. So the thing that I will tell you is if their arms are short, then I'm a little bit I pull away from those guys immediately. So if you have short arms, you better be great at everything else and figure out a way to utilize your deficiency in a positive way, with a different way of doing your job. But arms are big for me. If you've got short arms as a defensive end, if you've got short arms as an offensive guard or offensive tackle, you're just making your job that much harder. I mean, you were born that way. You can't do anything about it. But that's the unfortunate case in the draft where other guys have longer arms and they're going to go before you. They might not even be as good as you, but their measurables are better than yours. And you can work with talent, but you can't work with measurables that don't exist. So yeah, captains, that Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell love captains. All about it. 33.5 is good. Yeah. So he's fine. Absolutely fine. Perfect. So yeah, I would say, yeah, late round pick. Why not? So number 8 Titans, number 8 Falcons. So first mock, I had Terrion Arnold being the first cornerback off the draft in the top 10. Second time around, I had Quinion Mitchell. Third time around, I think the Falcons are still solid at wide receiver, meaning that they can add one in the second round. Corner and D-line, I think, are the most intriguing options for the Falcons here. I think that, obviously Kirk Cousins would love to have a new wide receiver, and they can get one later. They have early enough pick in the second round. They can do it. But Dallas Turner, man, the guy has been turning some heads, and he's jumping up boards right now. So at pick 8, I have the Falcons taking the first defensive edge off the board, Dallas Turner. And that's a big shocker for some. A lot of people will not agree with that pick. Apparently CBS does, though. I just looked at their mock, and they also have Dallas Turner at Falcons number 8. PFF also has Dallas Turner at number 8. That's interesting. So next up for the Bears. So last week, I want to say I had my first mock, Rome Odunze, my second mock, Malik Neighbors, my third mock, I'm going back to Malik Neighbors because Odunze's off the board already. And I think that this only makes sense that you want to add one of two things after you add your quarterback. You either want to add a receiver that he can grow with, or you want to add an offensive lineman that can protect him, right, on the offense. The second thing is obviously on the defense. Are you deficient anywhere with this early of a pick, 2 in the top 10, where you need to be strategic in nature to say, I've addressed my offense with the quarterback. I need to address my defense. We'll find you a receiver in the second round or whatever. Or are the Bears going to get smart and try to trade back? Because at this point, I think it makes sense to try to trade back and stay within the top 15 or 18. But we'll see. We'll see what Ryan Poles does. So I'm back to Malik Neighbors. Headed to the Bears at number 9. And according to PFF, they had Rome Odunze, and CBS had, Jared Verse going to the Bears. I don't know that they need an edge rusher. Do the Bears really need an edge rusher? I can't really see where they need one. Yeah, I agree with you there. Brian Welsh, that Turner doesn't have the upside of Verse. I agree with you that in a manner that I think that Verse is a better football player now, but Turner has these measurables and this freakish athletic ability that I think could put him on a trajectory of becoming better down the line. I think Verse is like a day one guy that you know what you're going to get, and his ceiling might be a little short. Dallas Turner, he has some room to grow. So I think down the line, I think that he could end up being the better guy. But year one, I think that Jared Verse is your guy. Meaning, I think that he's a day one starter that can come in and really wreak some havoc. So number 10, number 10 is just not changing a whole lot for me. I think that Aaron Rodgers loves, his tight ends. He always has. And my first mock, I had Brock Bowers going to the Jets. My second mock, I had Brock Bowers going to the Jets. In my third mock, I have Brock Bowers going to the Jets. I think it makes sense. It gives him a pass catching tight end. It gives somebody that can get downfield and can also be a good blocking tight end. So, I do believe that they could always take a wide receiver, and I still believe that they're going to be looking for some safety help, but they could do that a little bit later in the draft. At number 11, so this was the Vikings pick, and in my first mock, I had J.J. McCarthy going number 11 to the Vikings. In my second mock, I had the trade up with the Chargers to do the same, and, taking J.J. McCarthy. And in my third mock, so we now have the Patriots. We now have the Patriots on the board. Hold on a second. Where did I put it? Where did it go? Maybe I forgot to write that one down. Hold on. Okay. So I had the Vikings take Jaden Daniels at number 3. And now I have the Patriots at number 11, which was the Vikings' original draft pick. So I still have JJ McCarthy going early, and he's going to the Patriots. So I think that the Patriots were smart here. So like I was saying earlier, if you can back off your pick at pick 3, when the Vikings do what you want them to do, which is not take your guy, then they just added some extra picks. They added pick 11, still got a great quarterback, and they got pick 23, where now they can add a weapon for that quarterback, or they can add another player that they're going to need. So, which would be offensive line, I think. Well, we'll see what I wrote down in a minute. So I still have the Patriots lucking out here and getting JJ McCarthy at number 11. So 2 weeks in a row, or 2 out of the 3 weeks, I've got JJ McCarthy going at number 11 or better. I still think that he's potentially going to sneak into this top 10, without a doubt. I think that there's a lot of talk about him right now, potentially being one of the best quarterbacks in this draft. That he's really sneaking up some charts right now. He's really surprised a lot of people. I don't think he's surprised Jim Harbaugh, and I think that Jim Harbaugh is a critical, component to JJ McCarthy's success at the next level, where he gets drafted. I mean, because, obviously Jim Harbaugh's got a lot of connections, and I'm sure certain coaches and teams have probably reached out to ask him a few questions about JJ McCarthy. So number 12, got the Broncos. Now, as you know, last week, the first mock that I was screwing around with, I had Caleb Williams slipping to number 12 to the Broncos. Obviously, that was, I just can't stand the Bears. So the second mock, I had the Lions trading all the way up to number 12 to select DJ Turner. Obviously, this week, the third time around, Turner's gone. The Lions do not move up to number 12 now. I still feel that the Broncos may want to move back, as the guy that they want to replace Russell Wilson can probably be taken, a little bit later in the draft. You still have Michael Penix and Bo Nix that are available towards the end of the round. So I think if the Broncos, again, utilize their brains here and say, okay, can we somehow get into the middle of the, pick 20 and 30? Can we get somewhere in the top 25 where we could still take one of those guys in the first round so we can have a 5th-year option and add some more picks, whether it's this year or next year? And I think that would be the wise move. I really do. But because the way that the rest of the quarterbacks have fallen already, I think that the Broncos reach big time, and they select Michael Penix Jr. at number 12. I think it would be a bad move, but I think that the move fits for what's been going on, at least what we've been hearing. Michael Penix was just out with the Broncos this week, or this last weekend, or something like that. And I think that option there is picking up some steam, and whatever the Broncos are going to do to get him or Bo Nix or somebody, I think is what's being talked about right now. I don't think that they have the ability to move up because, one, their draft capital is not the greatest, and their capital overall, their cap, is in trouble. So it'd be better for them to move back and add picks as much as possible. Number 13. Let me follow that up with PFF here. What did PFF have? PFF had Bo Nix going to the Broncos, and CBS had Brock Bowers. Let me back up here a minute, because CBS also had JJ McCarthy going to the Vikings at number 11. As you know, I put the Vikings up at pick 3. So it's interesting that he's hanging around pick 11. And the Chargers were in a trade, obviously, and they were back to number 11 on PFF's board and taking Talis Fuaga. So pick 13, we have the Raiders. And at pick 13, first mock draft I did, I had Malik Neighbors. And I felt like, the Raiders need a lot of help. I don't really understand what their identity is and what they're trying to do. They're kind of all over the place. I mean, I have Peyton Wilson as a fit there. I have Jared Verse as a fit there. Talis Fuaga as a fit there. Obviously, Malik Neighbors. But in this third time around, I really feel that the Raiders probably want to add an edge rusher to help out Crosby. Crosby's playing a ton of snaps. It would be wise to get him, a solid rotational player. But given the fact that, there's still two really good corners on the board and they could use some corner help, we just took a Meek from them. And you could probably find a good rotational guy in the second round. Maybe it makes more sense that the Raiders take Quinion Mitchell right here at number 13. They solidify their cornerback room. They don't have to move up or down. And according to CBS, this pick would be Latu, which would make sense. Kind of what I was saying about Crosby, adding in another edge rusher to give him some help. But I think Latu would obviously be on the other side and would be an immediate starter, or at least that would be the goal. PFF, man, I don't know where they come up with this, but they have Michael Penix Jr. going to the Raiders. I think that he's gone by 12 to the Broncos. I think it would be really odd that the Raiders take a quarterback. I don't think that makes sense to them, but PFF's been doing this a lot longer than me. So move on to the Saints here. Actually, let me see what you guys are saying so far. So Warren King says, I like it. You must have been talking about the Pats. Yep, Pats go for gold with another Michigan QB. That's where my heart is right there. I think that, they had such good luck with Tom Brady that, why wouldn't you want to roll the dice with another U of M guy that, projects a lot better than what Tom Brady did, at least out of college. And then Tom shocked the world many times. Many, many, many times. So anyway, move on to pick 14, the Saints. And the Saints, look, they need a safety badly. First go around, I had them taking Dallas Turner. Second go around, I thought that they would be looking for, strong safety, an edge, a left guard, wide receiver. But then they added Chase Young right after that, right before that mock. They added Chase Young, Willie Gay, Brian Bresee in 2023. So for the third time around now, I think that the Saints still need a corner. They also need an offensive tackle and an edge rusher. They kind of need a little bit of everything. But like I said, they added Chase Young. They didn't address the O-line yet. And they need guard help badly. So I really believe that Talis Fuaga comes in at pick 14 to the Saints. He's moved to guard in 2024 and plays it out and just see where it ends up in 2025. Maybe they readdress the tackle position and move some guys around. Or maybe they leave Fuaga as a guard. The PFF monsters had Fashanu going to the Saints. I could agree with that too. I think that he also makes sense. But when I look at where Fuaga plays versus where Fashan, they're opposite sides. Fuaga has been picked by CBS also. So we got our second match with CBS. Move on to the Colts here. Colts last week and the week before. So mock 1, I had Cooper DeJean. I think that the Colts really need a safety badly. And I think that Cooper is going to be moved back to safety position. I don't think that he's going to play corner at the next level, but I think that positional versatility will help him. In the second mock draft that I did last week, I had Terrion Arnold projected to go to the Colts. But this week, third time around, I'm going right back to Cooper. I think that Cooper's the pick here. I think that he's always been my pick. I think it makes a lot of sense here for the Colts to grab, what could be the best safety in the draft and definitely, pretty solid corner. I just don't know why that they would want to screw it up and go in any other direction there. Again, this is a team that could trade back. I don't know too many other teams that are going to probably take that big of a risk on Cooper that early. It just depends on how this draft really shakes out and what happens to the cornerbacks at this point. So if you get a run on quarterback corners early, well, that changes things. Then Cooper could potentially come off the board earlier than expected. But when I do these mocks, I try to keep all of that stuff in mind that, we haven't gone through, a ton of corners. We haven't gone through a ton of edge. I haven't gone through, so it kind of makes sense as to what other teams could be thinking as to, where they need to grab somebody now, because if there's a run on tackles, well, you better grab a tackle. If there's a run on receivers, you better grab a receiver if one is there that you like. So next up here, 16, we've got, let me back up here. So PFF has Cooper going to the Colts as well. I don't know what they had last week. I wish they would post that. And then CBS had Terrion Arnold going to the Colts. So all three of us agree that they need DB help, but I've been projecting Cooper since week 1. I'm glad that PFF finally joined the party on that one. All right, so next up we got the Seahawks. And the first week, let's see. I had them taking Jackson Powers Johnson. The third week, look, they still need offensive line help. They haven't done anything in free agency to really help this out. Again, last week it was Jackson Powers Johnson 2 weeks in a row. And then guess what? Third week in a row, it's Jackson Powers Johnson. Whether they need a center or not, this guy will be one of the best guards to ever play the guard position until he's needed at center. So I do believe that the Seahawks are going to address the offensive line, try to help keep Geno upright this year so he doesn't have to run around all over the place. And according to CBS, they have the Seattle Seahawks taking Troy Fontenot. And PFF is in a line. They also have Troy Fontenot. So they both have him taking a tackle. I have him taking a guard center. Next up is the Jags. And I just got a glimpse of CBS's. That is interesting. No way he makes it that far. Very interesting. Okay. Jaguars, number 17. No trades. Like, we got a couple of trades out of the way early, and then, not really much happening here. So first mock, I believe that I had Nate Wiggins going to the Jags in my first mock. I could see them, this time around, the Jags wanting to really spring for Latu because he's sitting there, or Fisk or Braswell. They need an edge rusher. They really need an edge rusher. So even D-line, they could really use somebody on the D-line. But corner is a real need, I believe, with the Jags. Big time need. And so I'm sticking to my guns here. I think that they take Terrion Arnold, and that'll be our third DB off the board before pick 20. So we had Quinnen Mitchell at 13, Terrion Arnold at 17, Cooper DeJean at 15. So yeah, that'd be our third corner, or third DB off the board before 20. And according to PFF, wow, they have Quinnen Mitchell. So same wavelength, just different player. And get this, CBS has Darius Robinson, edge rusher, going pick 17. Welcome in, Shadow Viper. See, you just joined. Awesome, man. Thanks for joining in tonight. So, yeah, Darius Robinson, man, ain't no way he goes that high, but I guess I can't say I'd be too surprised because I like what he's all about. So next up, we got the Bengals. And as you guys are well aware, we just stole their defensive tackle, DJ Reader. So that's what's high on my list. It was high on my list in week 2. Week 1, I had them taking a left tackle because they really need somebody to help, Joe Burrow not get crushed, literally. And the week 2, I had defensive tackle Johnny Newton being an option. I had Graham Barton, J.C. Latham being options. But here in week 3, I'm back to the Bengals taking a defensive lineman. They just lost one of the best defensive linemen in the game. As long as he returns to form, I think the DJ Reader is going to help out this Lions team immensely in 2024. And in this draft scenario, I have the Bengals taking, in my opinion, who was the most vicious guy outside of Braden Fisk was pretty vicious at the combine. Jared Verse was pretty vicious at the combine. But this guy who has sequoia trees for legs, I mean, literally huge legs, Byron Murphy going to the Bengals, could potentially be the next Aaron Donald style of player. A little bit shorter, but the dude's all power, and he's fast, and he's violent. PFF actually has Johnny Newton going to the Bengals. So we're in line here with, defensive line. I just think it's Byron Murphy. I think he projects better to the Bengals. More of a speed defensive tackle, somebody they can get to the quarterback. Whereas, Johnny Newton, he can be at times too, but I feel like he's going to be not so much of a pass rushing defensive tackle. That's just my opinion after watching this tape. And CBS also has Byron Murphy. So that's like our third pick we're in line with. It doesn't happen a whole lot. My picks are usually way off. Number 20, or I'm sorry, did I skip the Rams? I did. I skipped the Rams. So number 19, go to the Rams. And this is where things start to get interesting because they just lost Aaron Donald. He retired. Clearly, they need to settle up their defensive line. I think that is probably the biggest need for them right now, outside of helping Matthew Stafford on the offensive line. In week 1, I had Jared Verse going to the Rams at pick 19 with Johnny Newton, Talis Fuaga, Latu, and even wide receiver Brian Thomas is all being options. But then Aaron Donald retired, so now we are in the third go-around here. And I think that Jerzon Newton is going to be the second defensive lineman taken off the board. True defensive tackle, taken off the board because Byron Murphy was just taken the pick before, and the Rams aren't going to take a chance and try to wait or trade back or do anything. They're just going to go ahead and take Newton at pick 19. According to PFF, they're taking Jared Verse, who I had them taking in week 1, or my week 1 mock, or mock 1.0, sorry. And according to CBS, they have Johnny Newton. So we are in line again, back-to-back picks. Byron Murphy, then Johnny Newton. So next up we have Pittsburgh. Make sure I'm not in line with them there either. So Pittsburgh, mock 1.0, I had Talis Fuaga. And third time around, I think that the Steelers would be wise to really shore up the offensive line. I think that it makes sense. Obviously, they're going to have either Fields and or Russell Wilson to protect back there. Wilson's not getting any younger. I think it's key that you try to keep those guys upright to even have a chance. Multiple prospects still available at pick 20. There's been kind of a rash of offensive linemen kind of go off the board, but J.C. Latham is still available at right tackle. And I think that's who would project well as a Pittsburgh Steeler. According to PFF, wow, they've got J.C. Latham. And CBS has Enos Rakestraw Jr. That is probably the earliest I've ever seen Rakestraw. I have never seen him in the first round. He's ranked as like the 7th best corner in the league, or in this draft. So I don't see that happening. I think that one's way off by CBS. But the fact that PFF and I are somewhat, similar here, I would say that it's a good pick. But we'll see. Pittsburgh will tell us. No, that was Trevonde Sweat that just got into some trouble. We think we spoke about it last night a little bit. He was drinking like midday, got pulled over, DWI. So if he was ever on the Lions board, he's not anymore. I wouldn't expect anyway. So next up, we got the Dolphins, pick 21. And let me just make sure I'm on point here. Okay. Dolphins, pick 21. First go around, I had them taking Graham Barton. Second go around, the third go around now, mock 3.0. I still feel the Dolphins want to take up offensive linemen here. I think it's too important, especially for Tua, to have some consistency back there. He obviously needs to stay upright. He can't take, all these shots like he did last year. But that's where I have Fashanu, Olumuyiwa Fashanu going to the Dolphins here at pick 21. And according to PFF, that's actually going to be Byron Murphy. And according to CBS, that's going to be Jackson Powers Johnson. So look, if Jackson Powers actually slips, that's an excellent pick, in my opinion, to the Dolphins, because they could use guard help too. All right, so next up, we got the Eagles. And we're going to have a little bit of some action here. So we have some action here. We got a trade. And this is where things start to get interesting. I think that now that we've seen Byron Murphy come off the board, Jerzon Newton come off the board, and you've got Latu sitting there, you've got Verse sitting there, you've got Braswell sitting there. So you've got a whole host of really solid, edge guys. You got Chop Robinson still out there. And you've got some teams that are probably looking for some edge rushers, right? And things are starting to get a little slim. And at this point, I think that there's a team that really needs an edge rusher. It's not going to take a chance. So your Detroit Lions are going to go ahead and move up. Hold on here. Yep, your Detroit Lions are going to go ahead and move up. They're going to trade away pick 29, pick 73, and next year's second round pick. Seems like a lot. They're going to move up to pick 22. They're going to add pick 53 in 2024. So essentially, they're trading 2 seconds and a first for a first and a second. So when you really boil it down, they're losing a second round pick in 2025, but they're going to select Jared Verse in the first round at pick 22. But they still have and still will have now extra picks, because they had, pick 61 and pick 73. So now they'll have pick 53 and pick 61 or 60, whatever the next pick is. I haven't done it yet. So instead of, picking later in the draft, now they're going to pick again, in 30 picks, as opposed to having to wait 40 picks and then get their third guy in another, 50 picks later. And then there's that huge gap, between 73 and 120 or something like that. So there's a big gap between, their picks, and they need to get 3 guys, 2 impact players, but 3 guys, in my opinion, in the top 73. And they've already lost pick 90. So this would be the way to do it. So they're going to trade away 29, 73, and next year's second to move up to 22 and add pick 53. So really pick 73, you're moving up 20 picks to pick 53. And then pick 29, you're moving up, 7 slots to 22. They give up next year's second, but they also have 2 fourth-round picks next year. So they can package up something next year in 2026 and get their second back. So that's where I think the Lions make, a big move here, because what is that going to do? You grab the edge at 53. Even though we're pretty solid, we've got a good depth chart right now, edge. We don't have another dominant edge just yet. Now, they may think that the Davenport's that guy. I hope not. I hope that he is, but I hope that they don't really believe that. So then that leaves us an option at 53 to circle around to get a pretty darn good corner or a really good wide receiver. And then at 73, you could do the same thing. Get a really good corner or a really good wide receiver or an offensive lineman, somewhere in that 53 to 73. Because when I look at this and you've got all these offensive linemen that are projected to go early, what are the Lions really going to be left with? They're not going to be left with a whole lot of options. And at 29, you're still not going to be left with a whole lot of options for a top tier, offensive tackle or even a guard. I mean, at this point, you've got Powers is gone. Fuaga, I can't remember all their names. So you've got Fashanu gone. Byron Murphy's gone. Newton's gone. Jackson Powers Johnson's gone. And Talise Fuaga's gone. Dallas Turner's gone. Fontenot's gone. So there's just not much happening. If you're looking for day one starters, guys that can affect this team in year one, they're going to have to do something. And I would love to see him move up, but at the same time, I would love to see him move back. I really would. So next up, pick 23 was the Vikings, right? But they traded that to the Patriots. So now the Patriots are on the board. They're going to take Graham Barton. They definitely need some offensive line help. Let me see what happened here at pick 22 to the Eagles. And that's the other reason. So let me back up here. The reason why we're taking Jared Verse is Terrion Arnold's gone. Cooper DeJean's gone. Quinion Mitchell's gone. And then if you wanted a corner, all the great ones are gone besides Kool-Aid and TJ Tampa. I think Saint Restrill's just too small. And I think that you're going to be able to get a really good corner at 53 or 73 without a doubt. You might even have a shot at Chop Robinson still at 53, which would be crazy. But with Darius Robinson going, according to some of these mocks, at pick 17, a lot of the guys that we like are gone. How are we going to be able to get a Marshawn Nealon at pick 60 or Chop Robinson? We're not. I think they're going to be gone. I think these guys are going to be way gone before pick 60, and the Lions are going to be on the outside looking in, wishing they did something in the first round, even though Brad will never admit to that, I'm sure. Max Melton will be available later too. I do like Max. I think that he's a top 5 corner in this draft without a doubt. Without a doubt. But yeah, I mean, to your point, Jayster, could you imagine Hutch, Reeder, McNeil, and Verse? Whew, good night. Good night. And we can still get a great corner and we can still get a great wide receiver in this draft, I think, with the next 2 picks. But we'll find out because we're going to do them tonight. Could be a while, so I better hurry up. We're already an hour in and we're only to pick 23. So Vikings take Graham Barton. Cowboys at 24. Look, Jerry Jones, sometimes he's not the smartest when it comes to drafting. He could right now potentially grab a quarterback just because, the outs with Dak, not knowing what's going on with Dak. He could grab a quarterback, but then CeeDee Lamb surfaced this week, potential holdout if he doesn't get a deal done. So I put Brian Thomas to the Cowboys at 24. Green Bay's next at 25. And look, Green Bay, they need some help on the offensive line. They're starting a 7th round tackle right now. That's not helping Jordan Love. I think that they're going to want to protect Jordan Love without a doubt. I had JC Latham as one of my first picks in the first mock 1-0, but now it's Amarius Mims because, again, everybody's kind of been depleted at this point. Tampa Bay next up at 26. And Ooh, looks like there's a trade here with Green Bay. No. All right, so Tampa Bay 26. We've got Latu. I put Latu as the pick here. I think the Tampa's going to be looking for two things primarily. I think they're looking for defensive line help and cornerback help because obviously we just took Davis from them. They're going to be looking for a corner. But I think that Latu is just a little bit, probably too intriguing to some teams. I would run away from him personally. But I think that Tampa, given the fact that, all the other defensive line guys are gone. And I mean, you still have Chop Robinson available, but they lost Shaquille Barrett. And who else did they lose? They lost somebody else. But I do believe that they're going to be looking for some defensive line help, take an edge rusher, and be done with it. So Latu goes to Tampa. Next up, Arizona Cardinals taking their second pick of the first round. First time around, I had Brian Thomas going. Second time around, I had Brian Thomas obviously going to the Cowboys. And with them already taking Marvin Harrison early. And with the need of edge rusher still being top of the list for Arizona. And they have a ton of picks, man. They have a lot of room to breathe here. A lot of room. Like they're going to be picking again at 35. So, and just so we're on the same page, I see the Lions and Arizona Cardinals being potential trade partners throughout this draft. Absolutely do. Again. But this is where I got Chop Robinson jumping off the board here. Hold the phone here. Hold on. I had Tampa Bay taking Latu, and PFF has Latu going to Tampa Bay, and Nate Wiggins, CBS has Nate Wiggins going to Tampa Bay. So yeah, I'm on board with all that. Arizona, like I said, I have Chop Robinson going here, and PFF has Nate Wiggins. CBS has Kool-Aid McKinstry. So I guess when you look at it, if we stayed at 29 and didn't move up, Nate Wiggins and Kool-Aid just jumped off the board. So that doesn't help us. All right. Got the case of the yawns again tonight, man. Good Lord. It's all those allergy meds now. All right. So next up at pick 28, we got the Bills. The Bills, they need a plethora of positions here. Defensive tackle, offensive line, inside offensive line, safety, wide receiver, kind of all over the place. I've had Adonai Mitchell pegged to them early in mock 1-0. Third time around, though, I think that they're going to take Chris Braswell, edge rusher. Obviously, you lost Floyd. You've got to replace him. And Braswell, to me, projects more of an outside linebacker than he will, on the line defensive end. So then next up, I had the Eagles. Obviously, at pick 29 after the trade with the Lions. You've got some aging corners here. I don't think that Darius Slay is going to be able to play forever. And because of that, I have Kool-Aid McKinstry going to the Eagles at pick 29. According to PFF, according to PFF, the Lions are taking Kool-Aid McKinstry at pick 29. So, hey, I wouldn't mind that either. And wow, I would mind this one though. CBS has Tyler Nubin, safety, going to the Detroit Lions at pick 29. I think that would be a giant reach. Something that Brad Holmes likes to do. So they've worked out so far. So if it works, it works. Pick 30, we've got the Ravens. I still think that, they're going to want to address their cornerback room. I still feel that they need an offensive lineman and a receiver. But look, there's one corner that's still on my board. That's should have potentially gone in the top 15, and that's Nate Wiggins. So I have Nate Wiggins going to Baltimore. 49ers, I hope that they grab the absolute worst prospect in the draft, but that's not the case because they're going to take Tyler Guyton at pick 31 and give Brock Purdy some help on that offensive line. And then pick 32 with the Chiefs. I think that they're going to reach a little bit because they definitely need offensive line help. And they're going to go out and grab Sumatiaya. And I probably butchered his name. He's going to be available mid-second round. I just don't see a receiver right now that makes sense to go to the Chiefs this early because there's going to be plenty of options for them in the second round. So, all right. With that being said, now let me get this open and I'll share the screen. And we'll get the rest of the picks done. So where did I just put that? All right, there we go. Yeah, and just so you know, I picked one of these backwards. I accidentally grabbed the wrong player. I think it was Guyton and Wiggins. I think I had reversed or something. No, I did it right. I got it right. Never mind. Scratch that. I thought I picked him in reverse. All right, so we're on the board. Pick 33 with the Panthers. And let me look something up real quick. I forgot to do something. All right, round 2. All right, so round 2. I'm not real sure why the Panthers are on this board. It looks like Washington or the Raiders must have made a move on somebody else's board, but must have been with the Panthers. It looks like it. But anyway, I think that the Panthers obviously are going to be in need of just about everything. They had a terrible season last year. And right now, you got wide receiver, tight end, center, defensive line, linebacker, corner. When I look at, or at least that's according to PFF, I got to go back to my notes here. Just one sec. All right. Well, I guess it is what it is. So with that, with the Panthers needing just about everybody, this should be an easier pick than what I'm making it out to be. Wide receiver makes a lot of sense here. Tight end does not. Center does not make sense, even though Zach Frazier's right there, so it kind of does actually. You still have Peyton Wilson on the board. Look, I have him slipping out of the first round. I think that his knees, are going to be a problem for some teams. Then again, I've been wrong many times. I just don't see the Panthers taking a chance on not grabbing a dynamic wide receiver in this draft. So I think that with the first pick in the second round, Adonai Mitchell makes a lot of sense. But at the same time, I think that they're going to want to get stout on defense. And this is where I think that Braden Fisk makes a lot of sense. And he's off the board at pick 33 to the Panthers. So next up, we've got the Patriots. So like I said, man, huge deal for them to back off a pick 3. They gained pick 11. They gained pick 23 And now they're picking again at 34. 3 picks inside the top 34. They've already added, obviously, J.J. McCarthy at pick 11. And then they added, who did they add? They added Graham Barton. So they got offensive line and their quarterback of the future. And they still have some needs. So wide receiver, edge rusher would still be their biggest needs. I think at this point now, you look and see what edge rushers are still available, and there's going to be plenty. You got Darius Robinson, who's still on my board, Adisa Isaac, Marshawn Nealon, Braylon Trice, Austin Booker. And this is probably where I see Adisa Isaac going. I think that the Patriots like these Penn State guys. I think they're going to pass up on Darius Robinson, and they're going to take Adisa Isaac, pick 34. Cardinals. So Cardinals have already added a top flight wide receiver in Marvin Harrison. And they've also added Chop Robinson. So they've got wide receiver and edge taken care of, which knocks out defensive line, wide receiver. So they're looking for a guard, a center, and a corner. There is one of the best corners in the draft sitting here at TJ Tampa. But you also have this intriguing prospect that I'm surprised would still be here, but it's just the way the draft worked out. Zach Frazier. I think that Zach is obviously someone that can come in and play guard right away. And he can play center, in the future. So if your center right now is a little bit, on the fritz and you need an upgrade, you got him. If you want him to play guard for the first season, get his feet underneath him and then move over to center, in year 2, that's a great option too. Not too many offensive linemen, centers of Zach Frazier's caliber are going to be available later in the 3rd round or even later in the 2nd round. So for that reason, I think that they go back to the offensive line here, offensive side of the ball, and they take Zach Frazier and they address the needs that are most important to them right now. All right, let me get into the chat a little bit here. Which I told you it's going to be tough for me to do this tonight with when I do the mocks, but Mike P says if we get verse, I would dance for days. I'll dance with you, my man. I would. Lauren McQuaig says I don't see Nubin as a Lion. I don't either. I like Sion Vaki, and it's not just me being I guess it's not just because I've, done videos on those guys. I haven't even released the one on Mustafa yet, but there's options later, later in the draft. I think that we're pretty solid at safety right now. So you can either add really good depth or you can add a starter. And I think that you can add depth later and save your picks up front to get guys that make more sense. If you look at best player available, I would never put Nubin over top of Darius Robinson or Nealand or Adisa Isaac or Chop Robinson. Just wouldn't do that. Let's see here. Lauren McQuaig likes Leggett over Mitchell. I like Leggett. So I had Leggett high on my list. I really did. But then when he measured, a little bit shorter than what he was listed at, he dropped down for me. So I'm sticking with my first overall guy, which is Brendan Rice. I'd love to see him make it onto this team. All right. So for Washington, Washington's got a bevy of picks right now. So they've added their quarterback, Drake May. And now they're about to have 2 picks kind of back to back here. So, adding a wide receiver would be smart. I don't think that there's a tight end right here that makes a whole lot of sense. They could definitely use some offensive line help early to help protect their new quarterback. You got Jordan Morgan still there. It's a little slim. This is why if you're going to grab a tackle, you're going to have to do it early. Otherwise, you're going to have to wait till, a little bit later in the draft. So they don't need to waste the pick right now on offensive line. I think that, they're picking again at 40. Jordan Morgan's probably still going to be there. So let's go to the next, most important need, which is probably edge. So they've got quarterback. Now they need an edge rusher or someone on the defensive line, but I think edge rusher makes the most sense. Darius Robinson. Look, I think that there's a high propensity that Darius Robinson comes off the board right here. If we were to look at DB, which quite honestly makes more sense, I think that TJ Tampa probably flies off the board to Washington. It's one of those two guys. And I'm going to go TJ Tampa here to Washington. I think that, best player available, it makes more sense. Chargers. So the Chargers picked up their, what did I give them? Joe Alt. So, they got a generational left tackle. He's going to be around for the next decade at least. And they could really use a corner, defensive line, wide receiver, linebacker. I think it just makes more sense right now. Try to address your defensive line if you can this early, unless you have some guys later in the round that you do like. But I'm almost wondering if the Chargers are going to want to add a wide receiver right here and give the offense a little bit of a boost. So I do like Ladd McConkey here, but I think I'm going to go down a little bit further and take Troy Franklin, field stretcher, man. This guy, 6'3", 187, tall. Dude's got it together. So I'm going to give them Troy Franklin at 37. I want to see what everyone else is picking, though. Let me go back here. So PFF, they don't have round 2 done. They got to have round 2. Where's round 2 at? All right, so round 2, I went to the 33rd team. So they have Carolina Panthers taking a wide receiver. They had the Patriots taking, the Patriots, yeah, they would still be there. Ladd McConkey. Arizona Cardinals taking Enos Rakestraw, which I could see that too, like I said. Washington taking Chop Robinson, which I think he's already gone. Chargers taking TJ Tampa, which he's already gone. And so the Tennessee Titans taking Adonai Mitchell, which, hey, that's a good fit. But I think the Titans are going to take a DB here. I think that's where Rakestraw is probably going to jump off the board here. And you also have Darius Robinson. I don't know if Darius Robinson's going to last this long. So there's no way he's going to make it to the Lions. That's the tough part. So nobody really here that I'm excited about with offensive line. But cornerback is a big need. Wide receiver is a big need. So I'm going to go Adonai Mitchell, Tennessee Titans. Washington's up again. So I already gave them their corner. They've got their quarterback, their corner. I think that they could probably use a wide receiver right here. Oh, wait, I'm back on the Panthers. Sorry. I gave them Braden. There must have been some trades here or something with the 33rd team, because the Giants is who they had selecting at 39, and they were taking JJ McCarthy. No, Warren King. No, I wouldn't want them both. I'm just talking it out in my brain. Like, if I didn't take him, would Darius really make it past these guys to pick 53 or to pick 60? And the answer is just no. I don't think that they're going to last at all. So anyway, with the Panthers, I think they're going to add a wide receiver here. Unless they go defense back to back and add a corner. Matter of fact, I think the linebacker makes a lot of sense here for the Panthers. We'll go Peyton Wilson. Washington, like I said, they've already got their corner. They've got their quarterback. And this is where they're going to add a wide receiver potentially. And could be Jermaine Burton. Jermaine Burton's going to be a very, very unique prospect to watch. And then you got Ladd McConkey. I just don't know how far he's really going to slip. The question is, does Washington need a slot guy or do they need a Jermaine Burton? I mean, they're both the same size. Now, Ladd McConkey really blew it up at his pro day, so he's got to come off the board. Packers, they still need a safety badly. I don't see them getting out of this draft without one. Tyler Nubin is sitting right there. I think that probably makes a lot of sense right here. They definitely need a safety. We stole Brian Branch from them last year, thankfully. Houston Texans, I don't even know what they need. I mean, they've got everybody. They've got such an amazing squad right now. I think that it only makes sense that they're just going to get better no matter what they pick. And this makes a lot of sense to me to add a DB. I think Rakestraw is off the board. Sainristra, you guys know I'm just not that high on him because of his size. There's going to be a team that needs a slot corner that will take him. And it could be the 49ers. I don't think that they're going to take him in the first round though. It could be the Falcons. Matter of fact, let me look at their depth chart real quick. So Falcons depth chart right now at nickel corner. They got Mike Hughes from Detroit. Gosh, that's funny. They got AJ Terrell, who's pretty good, and Clark Phillips, who's pretty good at left and right corner. So Mike Hughes and D. Elford. So Sainristra could end up a Falcon. I kind of like that pick. And then you got Kamari Lassiter right there, right behind him. So the question is 6 foot 180 versus 5'9", 182 or whatever he is. He's not 5'10", he's 5'9". We'll slide Sainristra to the Falcons. Oakland. So did I just say Oakland? The Raiders. I will always call them the Oakland Raiders forever. So I gave them Quinn and Mitchell, so they're good with their DB. And at this point, they're not going to take a running back way too early. Not much going on for offensive line help unless they take Jordan Morgan. And defensive line is probably the one that makes the most sense right here. And this is where Darius Robinson's off the board. He is going to go help Max Crosby out. That is going to be a dangerous defensive line. New Orleans Saints. Let's take a look here. Pick 45. The one thing that would help with PFF is if they had the first pick or the pick before them listed in this little graphic here, so you don't have to go back and look. So I can't remember all of them. So Talise Fuaga, tackle. They definitely don't need a tackle anymore, but they do need a wide receiver. Definitely not taking a quarterback right here. I mean, Bo Nix is sitting there, but I just don't see that happening. They could use a corner. I do like Mike Hart right here, or let me pull up my corners. You got Kyrie Jackson, big guy, Max Melton, maybe a little bit early. Or Cam Hart. I said Mike Hart. Cam Hart, sorry. They also need a wide receiver. So I think that this is where Xavier Legette flies off the board. Or Keon Coleman. We'll go Keon Coleman. Indianapolis definitely needs wide receiver. And Jermaine Burton is probably one of the most intriguing wide receivers in this draft. And so is Xavier Legette. And that's where Xavier Legette goes. He's going to be a Colt. Have a little bit of a run on wide receivers here in the mid 40s. I'm not going to do any trades in the second round. I think it's just going to get too sloppy if I do that. But I could see a trade happening potentially. I think there might be a few trades here on the second day. I'm hoping the Lions are involved, to be honest with you. All right. So Giants, what did I do with them in the beginning? So they got their wide receiver. They could have used some defensive line help. And I do like Rook Aurora or Chris Jenkins going right here. Even Brandon Dorlus. I'm going to go Chris Jenkins. I think that he's going to be off the board before Rook. I personally wouldn't do that. I like Rook. I think he's extremely raw, but I think that his upside is incredible. But Jenkins heads to New York. Next up, we have the Jags. And as far as the Jags go, they already have their corner of the future. And they could use edge, center, guard. What do we got for edge? Jonah Ellis, Marshawn Nealand. Something tells me that Jonah Ellis is going to beat out Marshawn Nealand. May not, but we'll go Jonah Ellis to the Jags. And next up, we have the Bengals. Clearly, they're still in need of a tackle and or a tight end. And tight end right now, you got Jatavion Sanders, which makes a lot of sense, and Eric All. We're going to go Jatavion Sanders to the Bengals. All right, so now we've got the Eagles. Definitely needs a linebacker. Peyton, obviously Wilson's gone. Edrin Cooper, He's pretty solid. You got Jeremiah Trotter. He's pretty solid. Marist Liu Fao. I don't even know how to say his name, but he's pretty good too. So Junior Colson, how big is he? 6'3", 247. 6'3", 230. 6 foot 230. He's a little short. All right, we'll go Junior Colson going to the Eagles here. Next up, we got the Steelers. And the Steelers, I can't remember what I gave them earlier. I gave them offensive tackle already. So offensive tackle is what they got in the first round. So the second round, look, I don't think that they're going to be taking a quarterback, even though it says that they need one. They have two of them right now that were starters. And between the two of them, either one of them could get, a deal to come back next year, which more than likely would be Justin Fields. So I'm going to leave quarterback alone. I think that this is where, they're going to want to add a wide receiver, somebody they can throw to. And I mean, Roman Wilson is an intriguing option at 6 foot. And Jermaine Burton's also 6 foot, but I do like Jermaine Burton's ability, but the one that really is doing it for me is Devontae Walker. I think the Walker's going to beat all of them out, and he's going to become a Steeler. The Rams, I think we already addressed their defensive line help with Jerzon Newton. So at this point, it only makes sense to go to the other side of the ball. Matt Stafford is going to need offensive tackle or guard, something right here. Still have Jordan Morgan on the board and Blake Fisher. I do like Blake Fisher, Notre Dame product, pretty solid. And he does right tackle. Perfect. Blake Fisher. He's a Ram. So now we're up to the Lions here, 53. What's up, James? Yeah, this is kind of the wind down of the night. I'm trying to get all this done here in the next half hour. So the first round is the one that's always the best round. I've got a lot of the notes and stuff on everybody. The second and third round are just, I'll pick the guys and then I'll review it this week, and then I'll develop all the talk path to it next week for the second and the third round. Yeah, Warren King, anybody can slide into guard. As long as they have the arm length, they can do whatever, but any tackle can really become a guard. It just depends on their footwork. And, do they have the footwork? Do they have the ability to get, outside the tackles on, if they're pulling, outside zone? If you got pulling guards, they got to get to the second and third level. That's where we got to see their footwork. James, so first round, we moved up to pick 22 and took Jared Verse. But in response to that trade, we moved off of pick 73, 29, and next year's second, and we got pick 22 and 53 in return. So we didn't lose any draft capital this year. We lost a second round pick next year, and we moved up 20 spots from 73 to 53, which is going to give the Lions a big time option here. So we've got Jared Verse. We really need some offensive line help. We really need a cornerback of the future. We need a center of the future. We need a wide receiver. So Walker, I would have loved to have seen him become a Detroit Lion, to be honest with you. I don't know if the Lions would even think about double dipping right here with Marshawn Nealand or Rook Ororo. I think that they're incredible options. We do need a safety. You got Javon Bullard sitting there. Kamari Lassiter just doesn't do it for me. I mean, he's decent. He just doesn't do it for me. He's just not my type of corner. I don't think that Roman Wilson fits the wide receiver. He's only 6 foot. I think if the Lions are looking for a receiver, They're probably going to look for somebody that's, 6'3", and someone that can definitely work, the outside. Christian Haynes is a really good option here as a guard, but I think it's a little too early to take him. He's only 6'2". So that's my only knock on him. You got Kyrie Jackson sitting here, who's definitely big enough. He could be a safety. His footwork is pretty good for how big he is. Pretty athletic kid. I think that he's definitely going to need a little bit of help, a little bit of technique. It'll come. I do like the option, but let's pull up all the corners and let's see who's available real quick. Max Melton, he's ranked down at 80, but we're not going to have a chance to get him. I mean, we got picked 53 and 61, so we'll be able to get one of those two guys. And then you got Renardo Green, which I really like Renardo Green. He's a little light at 186. He's going to have to put some pounds on, but it's all about how you play. I also believe, way late, you're going to be able to get Kamal Hayden. I don't know why McLaughlin is still way down. It doesn't make any sense to me. When you compare their tape to the rest of the guys, I think that they could be better. Trying to think here. Did the Lions take or have a visit with Kyrie Jackson yet? I don't know if they did. I don't think that they did. And is it going to be too early for us to take Brendan Rice? So if we're looking for a 6'3" guy, Brendan Rice, 6'3", 210. Obviously, he has the bloodline. Is his dad going to be a problem? I don't know. I really don't. Xavier Worthy, you're talking about the kickoff rules changing. Dude's got blazing speed. I mean, can you imagine having Worthy and Jamison Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown spread out? Who's going to touch them? You got Amon-Ra that'll get open over the middle, and then you got Jamison and Worthy that can take everybody deep. Still have Jermaine Burton on the board. He's only 6 foot though, so he doesn't do it. I'd say that, the Lions would be wise to potentially wait. If this was their pick, I would probably wait. Try to grab offensive line help right now. And then at pick 61, I would take Brendan Rice or even Luke McCaffrey, but that's way late. He's 6'2", 195. So it's getting closer. It's just not a whole lot going on here with taller wide receivers. But if we're looking for a guard, if we're looking for somebody that can obviously step up, I do like Mason McCormick a lot. 6'5", 315. I think his arm length is good. Christian Mahogany is another decent guy, 6'3", 322. I mean, when you look at the Lions offensive line right now, a lot of our guys are 6'5" and better. So I think that definitely plays a role in what you're looking for. I love Christian Haynes and what he does on the football field and how quick he is. But at 6'2", is he going to be too small? That's going to be the question. So, Brian, who can play center? I got to pull up my measurables real quick. I can't remember. Haynes' arm length. We still got Cooper Beebe that's available later. All right, so Haynes' arm length is good, 33 and a half. Mason McCormick, 33 and 7/8, so his is good. Dominic Pooney, who's available, his arm length is good. Cedric Van, his arms are short. Zach Zinter, his arms are good. I really liked Zach Frazier, man. His arms are about an inch short, but it is what it is. He's so talented. Purcell 6'1", 189. All right. Yeah, Zach, I would wait on James. I'd wait quite a ways. All right. So it's either a reach, Christian Haynes, Christian Mahogany. He plays left guard, which is what we're really going to need at some point. I really want a right tackle, though. I think that if we grab a right tackle and convert him, then we'll always have a tackle. It's harder to get a tackle than I think it is a guard. And I forgot that we still had a couple of tackles available. So Jordan Morgan, if he slips this far, I think that he's a perfect opportunity. Fast hands, fast feet. Jordan Morgan it is. Sorry, that one took so long. All right, so let's move on to the Browns. Look, the Browns, they need wide receiver bad. I don't think it's any ifs, ands, or buts about it. You could do anything here for them. But I think Xavier Worthy's only going to last so long due to his speed and what they're going to be looking to add in this new kickoff game. Speed kills, and it just makes perfect sense to add. The Dolphins, can't remember what I did for them. Where are they? All right, the offensive line. So defensive line is probably where it's at here. Let's see who's available. You got Rook. Trevonde Sweat's going to slip. Brandon Dorloose, good prospect. I was not impressed at all with his combine. I think this is where Rook could end up going. The fact that we've already addressed, offensive line early, I think that rookie ends up a Dolphin. Then you got the Cowboys. They could probably use some linebacker help. I don't even care if I give them a punter. I hate the Cowboys. Brian Thomas Jr. is already slotted to them, wide receiver. So they're good there. They need a tackle. They need a center. They need defensive line. They need a corner. They need a linebacker. Let's look at corners. So let's go best available to them. They'll get Kamari Lassiter, cornerback. Tampa definitely needs or needed a corner. I can't remember what I gave them. I gave them Latu. And they also need offensive line help. So we'll go Christian Haynes, guard. Texans. So Texans are on the clock. They definitely need interior defensive line. Where are they? Do they not have a first round pick? Am I blind? I must be blind. There they are. I gave him a corner. All right. Green Bay first. I gave them a safety. I gave them a tackle. And they need defensive line. Brandon Dorloose or Marshawn Nealand. Man, that's tough. That one's tough. Interior defensive line, though, I think is where they're going to probably benefit the most. And that's going to end up being Brandon Dorloos. All right, now we're on to Houston. They also need interior defensive line. And I still think that Trevonde Sweat is probably going to slip, but it is Houston, and they do take chances. But I do like Dwayne Carter here. Buffalo Bills, they need interior defensive line help. So, I mean, we could have a run here on interior defensive linemen and or, some edge rushers. They can be, like tweeners. Christian Boyd's a unique. Mekhi Wingo's a unique. I can't see Mekhi Wingo slipping this far. And Christian Boyd is a very unique prospect, like very unique. He is somebody that I wouldn't even be surprised the Lions take a swing at. But I think at some point, Trevonde Sweat's going to have to come off the board, probably closer to where he's pegged right now at 74. But what did I give the Bills earlier? Gave them an edge already. So linebacker, wide receiver, tackle, defensive back. I think, we'll go back to defensive backs here and see who's available. You got Kyrie Jackson. That is a Bills type player, to be honest with you. And you've got Max Melton. We'll go Kyrie. And then I think for the Lions, it only makes sense. It really does. Max Melton. I think that makes great sense right there. All right, so that's your first 3 rounds for the Lions because they are done with picks, right? So they don't have 73 anymore and they don't have 90, and I'm not going to go any further. We just wanted to get to the Lions. So Max Melton, pick 61. That's a pick that the Lions have now, but at pick 53, the Lions add tackle Jordan Morgan. And I'm not even sure that they've even had a top 30 or pro day or combine visit with Morgan yet. Just the way that this draft kind of, was thrown together. I do think that by them addressing edge rusher early and taking an opportunity to jump up and take verse, we can see how everything changed quickly. They jump up and take verse, but the rest of the picks, man, like the players just really kind of disappear quickly. And there's just not a whole lot of opportunity to miss. With that third pick, I probably would have taken Brendan Rice, to be honest with you. But they do need another corner. So that's why the Lions, they need more picks. They do. But we got offensive line, defensive line, and a corner. With our first 3 picks, we got 3 needs. I don't know if they were best player available on Brad's board, but there's one thing that is undeniable. Jared Verse is a heavy-handed, vicious, violent defensive end. It's exactly what you need on this team. Someone that can get in there and disrupt, change of speed, someone that is going to get inside you and move you out of the way while he's getting to the quarterback. There's a big difference between some of these guys. When I watch, we watched Turner the other day. And against some of the bigger tackles, he struggled with. And for that reason, I believe that he's still going to be high on a lot of people's boards, but they're going to need to see, the other tape, because obviously that was the LSU game. He did not play well, and there's going to have to be a reason why. But when you look at the rest of the tape, he doesn't do what he was doing in that game. So I don't know if it's a scheme thing. I didn't know, was he just meant to hang out in his zone to stop the run and not rush the quarterback? Because that's what kind of looked like to me. He made contact, but then he kind of sat back. Made contact, and he kind of sat back. He didn't really, hit it hard. And that, so it had to be a scheme thing. Had to be. But so anyway, sorry about the slow going there on the draft. I'm going to do one more before I get to draft night. So I've got to prepare for draft night. That's the most important thing. So I'm going to do one more next week, Monday, and then the next one's going to be on the 24th. And that'll be, just the Lions picks, and then we'll mix in some picks in there as to why, the Lions got what they got, at least from my opinion. So appreciate you guys joining me tonight. These, mock draft Mondays are pretty slow. It's pretty slow going to get through this stuff. So we've only got a couple more, and then we'll get back to regular programming. I want to mix in some more Lions Legends stuff here again, like we did last year. Talk about some of the players of the past and have some fun with it. So, all right, y'all. Look, you guys have been great. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you on Wednesday. As I know right now, I'm trying to get everything reset up tomorrow with the new PC, and hopefully that goes well. But that's what I'm going to be doing all day after the morning show. So you guys have a great night. We'll see you in the morning at Rockdown Syndicate. And that's all for tonight. Take care. Bye-bye.